friends, and welcome to our collaboration today. I am Mimi of Gaia Blooming, and in case you don't know who I am, I am the, proprietress of Gaia Blooming. I am an astrologer, and I do daily videos to help you work with and utilize the cosmic energies so that you are flowing in life instead of resisting the energies that are going on. And I'm so happy to be bringing my friend Nicole, or my friends Nicole and Ryan of Guided by the Omans, to help us. Well, we're all going to support you in this holiday season and getting aligned through these energies and through our chakras. So I'm going to hand it over to them to introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Nicole Oman, and I am a lot of the things. So what I usually work on in my personal work is I'm a coach, but I'm a deep healer and shaman. So what I like to do is see what's going on in your life and feel into that, your core process, and help you get rid of those or work through those subconscious and unconscious blocks that really keep us from being our full expression of ourself. Um, I also love to do that through dance and play and joy and movement and authenticity. And we love doing a lot of transformational work. And I recently have blended my talents with my beautiful husband who started doing the work. And that's been an interesting process. But I'll let Ryan introduce himself and what he does.
Hi, I'm Ryan Oman, and I am the co-owner of Guided by the Omans with my beautiful wife, Nicole. We decided to blend our work together because we have kind of like a really good blend of what our talents are. My talents come more from the physical side of things, being a personal trainer for over 15 years. So I tend to want to ground things into the body, but I'm also a big time spiritual nerd. So I read a lot and I study a lot, and I know a lot about, I think I know a little bit about everything. Maybe not a lot about one thing, but a little bit about everything. So I'm basically an expert generalist. I happen to focus on the chakra system because I find that the chakras are a really great container for any work that you need to do. And they help you to understand the different aspects of basically anything you might be challenged with in your life. And so Guided by the Omens is there to basically guide you. Nicole and I like to refer to ourselves as life Sherpas, because by no means are we gurus telling you what to do. We are trudging up this metaphorical mountain that we call life together, and we want to just help others to climb.
Awesome. Well, I think we're going to start with a little short meditation so Ryan can help us all drop in to support our root process today.
Yeah, so the focus today is going to be on the root chakra. And if you're not familiar with the root chakra, it's located at the base of your body. You can go to the base of your spine, or you can go to your perineum or your pelvic floor, and that's where this energy resides. The root chakra is unique in the sense that it pulls energy from the earth, and it pulls it up from the earth and into the body. So it's pointing kind of in a downward position. So you can visualize it as like a cone of energy pouring down into the earth and pulling back up from the earth. So there's kind of an equal energy exchange there. So as we go through this guided meditation, I want you to go ahead and visualize that area of your body and kind of draw the energy into there, but I'll help you get there. All right, so start out by just closing your eyes and connecting to your breath, and make sure that you're in a position where your spine is nice and straight and vertical. Thinking of your spine kind of like an antenna, you want to make sure that you're in a position that's comfortable, but also, sitting up nice and tall, like you're very interested in what you're hearing, because of course, what we're saying is extremely interesting. So go ahead and start to concentrate on your breath. We'll start by just focusing on the breath as it comes in through your nostrils. So just feel the breath pulling in through the nostrils. Then feel that breath as it pulls down into your throat. So feel the air pass through your throat. Then feel the air pull into your lungs, your chest, your heart. Now feel the energy pull down into your belly. Feel that belly expand with each breath. And feel the air drop down into your pelvis just below the belly button. And finally, bring that air all the way down into your pelvic floor, down into your base, all the way down. Now that your attention and your breath is in the base of your body, I want you to visualize a red dot of glowing energy in the base of your body, right there in your pelvic floor. And with each breath, we're going to expand the size of this little ball of energy. So inhale. And as you exhale, see that ball of energy increase to the size of a golf ball. Inhale. And inflate that ball to the size of a softball. Inhale. And inflate that energy to the size of a basketball. Inhale. And inflate that energy to the size of a beach ball. Inhale. And inflate that energy to the size of your entire body. Feel this glowing ball of red, warm light encapsulating your entire body, creating a safe container for your experience, for you to receive the energy that the root chakra would like for you to receive. Imagine yourself in this beautiful red ball, feeling safe, connected to your lineage, your family, abundance. And from this place, allow yourself to receive and give equally from a place of safety, security, and comfort. When you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes. Reconnect to the group. All right, ladies, ready when you are.
So
We did.
I'm like, oh yay, I feel kind of better. So what we're doing with this on these Fridays, so every Friday for the next 7 weeks, we are going to be coming together, the three of us, and we're going to be focusing on a different aspect. Today we're starting with the root, but every week we're going to go into a different chakra and kind of talk about that chakra and the way that we experience change. because the last few years have brought in, whether we liked it or not, a lot of change, internally and externally. And I know that can throw us off because sometimes we don't even feel like we know who we are when we're going through such abrupt change. And it can make us feel unsafe. So I think today we're going to be talking a lot about feeling safe. And if you have felt uprooted or literally have been uprooted, you might have had to change house, change states that you live in. A lot of people have moved around the country, shuffled around. You might have changed careers, lost friends. There's so much that can be uprooted, and then you feel completely stressed out and unsafe. And so we're going to talk a lot about that and how we can feel grounded in that moment of change, and also finding different things, very root chakra oriented, that can give us a sense of stability when we are needing to be in that unknown, right? So feeling secure in the unknown, is that an oxymoron? Maybe, but
The image that's popping up in my head is like camping. It's like, even though you're not in your home, you can still bring home things with you. You can still have a tent, which is a shelter. You can still have a sleeping bag, which makes you feel safe and comfortable. You still have your food, you bring it with you. So it's like, even though you're on the move, you can still feel grounded and safe within your campsite.
Or you could buy a travel trailer and stick your queen size mattress in it, like we did a couple of years ago.
Totally.
Because I glamped.
Yes, she does. Yes, she does.
Yes. But I really want to talk about safety and the opposite of safety, which is what fears have been coming up for you this year. I know the three of us have been really coming up with some of our own fears and even being met with them. And that is such a huge thing. And I want to throw it to Mimi, because I think this year we've all had to deal with some of our deepest and darkest fears.
100%. Well, it's interesting because as you were talking, it threw me into flying yesterday. I'm currently in Connecticut at my sister's house, where my mom also is currently, and I'm seeing my family root stuff, right, for the first time since 2018. And yesterday when I was flying, I am an abnormal Sagittarius. I haven't always been, but I am terrified of flying. I am so, put me on the ground. I like the ground. Oh, I have so much anxiety about flying, but it wasn't always that way. And yesterday I was like facing it head on. I was like, all right, well, where is this fear coming from? And when did this start? Because I remember as I was like getting on the plane, I was like, I feel that spark of adventure in me that I used to have. And I was like, yeah, here we go. Let's zoom like off to another destination. And my body was like, I don't feel the zoom. Like, no, thank you.
I want to get you to Egypt with us, and we're gonna have to fly there. So
well, it actually threw me back to 2008, interestingly enough. And in 2008 is when Pluto moved into Capricorn. And I know we want to talk about this year, but this is significant because Capricorn is the sign that represents structure, and Pluto can represent destruction and transformation. And Pluto is actually preparing in 2023 to move out of Capricorn and into Aquarius. So we're at these final degrees of Capricorn, finding restructuring, but also having to face those places of destruction or where we haven't felt structure. And our lives are generally so structured. Structure is kind of almost built into our safety, right? And so we may find ourselves connecting back at this time to 2008 and any chaos, destruction, upheaval that went on from then on. Also at this time, what is so potent, like this is so potent astrologically, is the nodal placement. So the South Node in Scorpio. Scorpio to me, more than any other chakra, I believe there's, or any other sign, I believe there's other chakras that connect into the root, but Scorpio always feels so much like root issues to me. Scorpio feels like safety. I feel like Scorpio in the chart tunes us into survival energies and where we potentially survived and where we potentially didn't survive in other lifetimes. We've never gotten out of any of those lifetimes with our bodies intact, right? Like we leave those bodies behind, but there's trauma in that sometimes that we kind of carry along. So Scorpio energy can bring this. And with the South Node currently in Scorpio, all of us are kind of having to look at any of those survival energies or fear of being alive, whether it's related to money, our ancestry, family, just safety in all of its forms. We're all having to address that and lean into the North Node, which is in Taurus, which is reminding us, despite anything, we are safe here on Earth. Earth has got us. It's an abundant planet with all of the food and resources and anything that we need to survive, despite, again, anything that the media may tell you. So it's such a potent time to be looking at, facing any fears that we're carrying that are keeping us from feeling safe in our personal presence on this planet and in and of ourselves. And the change isn't stopping. Like the astrological shifts that are coming in, they're going to have us like, where's my balance? Okay.
I have to say, though, you just hit me. Like, you hit me on a personal level that I didn't even think about 2008 and all of this, like, Scorpio energy. And I have a lot of Scorpio energy in my chart, and that you have to lean into the Taurus. And I'm like, oh my God, this is exactly what I'm going through. It's like me and Ryan broke up in 2007 and we had to like figure it out. Wow. And in 2008, I had to go to the ashram, Amma's ashram, and I had to be by myself and like figure out who I am. And this time I have to lean into trusting my Taurus husband, the masculine, in a different way of like, I don't have to do this by myself. And wow, what you said, I was like, oh my God, maybe you just kind of nailed it.
It chills all through my body as you're telling me that. It's so amazing. It's so amazing. Like, I just have to say, side note, the astro, I've been doing this, I don't even know how long now. Definitely over 10 years, but it still blows me away when we can like sink our teeth into it, how real it is in our actual lives. So right. That's really beautiful. So tune into yourself. What was going on? I was hitting my Saturn return, and it was in my Saturn return that spirit was like, okay, you don't get to like make money being a nanny anymore. Go do your spiritual work. It made me go dig into my energy work. And that's really when I actually stepped into being an astrologer, was actually in that timing. So
if I'm not mistaken, didn't you two ladies meet shortly after that? Like, didn't Soul Garden start like what, 2009?
Yeah, we met. Yeah, a year later. Oh, that's so funny. You and I were still circling. Like, there's something there. I don't know what's going on with you and I, but you and I are like full circling back together.
I love it.
There's a reconnection energy happening a lot, and I think that energy is so synchronistic to what we're talking about here. I mean, I think we mentioned briefly about the journey of Ascension that Nikki and I created. Well, Mimi just recently completed that program with us, and didn't you said, I think if I remember correctly, you did have some stuff coming up in the root chakra. Do you want to talk about that?
For sure. Oh gosh. Root chakra, I have been working on root chakra for, I swear, so long. And I have to say that in the program, I definitely found more stability in my root chakra than I've ever had. One of the moments where I was like, okay, this definitely shifted something in me. Speaking of moving, have moved so many times in the last few years. And my partner and I recently moved to Arkansas. Well, in the last like year and a half, we moved to Arkansas. And I've never lived in a place where I've had to deal with tornadoes, and we have tornadoes in Arkansas. And despite everybody where we live assuring me like we don't have them in this area because of the rolling hills, when you get those tornado warnings on your phone, it doesn't matter. It shakes me up because Mother Nature doesn't play, right?
So we know that.
yeah, right. So right at the completion of the program, we had tornado warnings, and we actually had one drop in right near our house. Not really quite where we're at, but pretty close, like close enough that usually I'd be like, oh my God, like we don't have a storm cellar, like throw me into panic mode. And I was like, we're good. And I wasn't careless chill, but I was like, I feel grounded. I know we're protected. I know we're okay. Like, we're good.
Right.
And that was such a shift because literally, like, my partner would usually make fun of me because I'm like, like I would panic. It would throw me into panic mode.
Cat over water.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, hold on for dear life. Do we have to, like, our protection, if something does come, is like our bathtub, which is not protection at all. So before I was like, do we have to take our mattress and our cats into the bathtub? And like, do we have to all sit in there? Because that's what everybody told me. So that was always our plan beforehand, which is not practical at all. So so it was such a shift to have that. And it was also something, again, yesterday when I was like breathing through my plane experience, that I was like, this is I'm feeling the stress in my body, and yet I'm breathing, I'm feeling connected, and I'm also facing the fear because, for me, the fear of flying isn't about the flying. It's like, well, is this plane going to stay in the air? It's really the fear of crashing, right? So, and I truly believe, because I've had a lifelong fear of heights, that there's probably something in deeper lifetimes where probably did crash to the ground, and that fear is like still contained in my field somewhere. So it's breathing through, and I think that part of the South Node in Scorpio is also making peace with mortality. And I think that's something that's been up in our world so strongly over the last few years, is like, again, we don't get out of this alive. And so it's our work right now to live each day as purposely as possible, and like to truly live. And so it's like, okay, well, if the universe decides that this is my last day, I do know that I have done my best to live as well as I can in any given moment. I feel like I have more to offer, right? But I was like, I that's where the peace has to be, is trusting in the universe, like it knows what it's doing. So there was a lot of that in the flying for me yesterday.
Yeah. Well, it is big with this like fear thing. And I kind of want to throw it to the comments and stuff of like, what fears have been coming up for you this year? Like, and letting us know, and just saying it out loud, because I think that just like going, I'm not going to be afraid that this is the lesson or the test that the universe is bringing to me, and I'm having to look at it. I mean, ours right now is like foundational money stuff. Like, usually I have been so abundant in my life, like massively, and to be honest with you, I still am. But it's this like being resourceful. And Ryan and I were talking about this yesterday, about that whole biblical story of loaves and fishes, that sometimes we get so scared, but every time we go to the basket, there's a fish and a loaf of bread. Like, and more than that, like, we are being able to really take care of ourselves, but it is this in the moment process of like trusting that we have to just show up in our authentic path and not go back into those mental patterns like, oh, like, there's a lot of fear going on. Like, we're going to have scarcity with food, and there is some legitimate things that are happening, or we're going to have scarcity with this, or inflation. And these are all things that are, yes, they are happening. But how do I react? How do I make that, what do I make that mean for myself?
Yeah.
And do I go and like sell myself and sell my soul out to trying to get that stability? Or do I stay on my path, trust what we're building? Because what me and Ryan want to build is sustainable change within ourselves, right? And like knowing that no matter what life asks of us, that we can show up to it, and like that we were always going to be provided for. And I think also with that Taurus energy that you were saying, that North Node that we have to lean into, is so connected to the planet, the Mother Earth, the mother, like, she's massively abundant to the point where she's like, all right, I'll keep giving and keep giving and keep giving, right? And it's like, what is the truth? Is scarcity actually true, or are we already provided for? Like, do we all have the energy that we actually need to survive? And And it's conditioning, and there goes like right down to the lineage core stuff. It's so much conditioning, I think, that we're going through, not only through society and the conditioned behaviors that the systems put on us, like you have to go to school for this many years and then get a degree and do this and knows what you want to do by the time you're 22. And that's ridiculous. Like that, if you just think about it, like, could you imagine? I'll be 40 this year, and I'm going, what? You're gonna ask that girl at 22 what the hell she wants to do for the rest of her life? I don't know what I want to do tomorrow. Like, that's silly, right? Because we're always shifting and changing, and instead of like learning how to ride the waves and learning how to transform through these different cycles of your life, we're taught to, like, you have to have it figured out and think about your 401k before you're 27. And that's such a conditioned behavior we have in society. But then we have our lineage conditioning. And my mom lived with Ryan and I this last year, and I got to watch her go into retirement, and how hard, she has been a nurse for 45 years, and how hard that was, and how much money, and how much she had that belief system of, you work hard and then you'll be taken care of. And that wasn't the case for her. She worked so hard, sacrificed herself her entire life. And yet she doesn't really have a lot. And that fear. And I was like, wow, I can feel that lives inside of me, to the point where at night I would wake up in really cold sweats, and I'm like, am I processing myself? Am I processing her? And I'm like, yes, all of it, right? Like it's her fears that live inside of me, and these conditioned behaviors of why I'm so afraid that I'm not going to be taken care of, because I can feel where she doesn't feel taken care of. And so I think that's what we have to look at when we're looking at our fears. So whatever's coming up for you, like Mimi and her flying, and that really old, but there's so much going on with you, Mimi. Like, you're flying to see your mom and sister after 5 years. Like, there's so much. It was like perfect to deal with that. And Ryan, we went to Disney last month, and we went to California, and the only 2 days that we have there, and the only 2 days that we have the girls, it rains, it pours, right? And I'm like, really, California?
Which never really happens in Southern California. You get like 4 rainstorms a year.
And we were there for 2 of them. And not to say that's a bad thing. California needs the rain. But I was like, really, we had to choose. Okay. It is what it is. And Ryan had to go through his own little ceremony. I'm telling you, like, I think the universe is like, we're going to pin you literally to your fear, and you have to deal with it. Like, you can't. So I kind of want you to just tell like a small amount of that story, because I just think it's so funny how the universe is Miyagiing us all to like go, you're bigger than this fear. You know that, right?
Right. Well, I think, first of all, thematically, it's really interesting to hear both you guys talk about, because Mimi's talking on one hand about this perception of fear. And like when she was younger, going in the same plane ride felt very different than it does now. She's just changed her perception. So I think, and the same thing with your mom and yourself around money, this perception of lack comes from this social conditioning that we have to have an overabundance. If you don't have more money in the bank than you actually need, you are somehow suffering from lack, even though, whether you know it's how it happens or not, the money always shows up, right? And so I get to be on the other side of that coin when we talk about my story. So, when you talk about the root chakra, safety is a thing where there's a double edge to each thing. You have safety on one side where you feel like you need to have an overabundance, or you need to feel more safe, right? And on the other side, you feel like you need to have freedom, okay? And you guys are talking about wanting to feel more safe. Well, what happened to me was I had my freedom impinged upon in the shape of a roller coaster. One of my biggest fears going into the root is being trapped, like underground, basically being caught in something, or just the feeling of being trapped in general. And we were riding on a roller coaster in the pouring rain, getting pelted in the face at like however fast the roller coaster goes, probably 60 miles per hour, and just getting pelted by the rain. And then the roller coaster comes to a stop. And just before we go to get off, it stops and then it turns the corner and then you get off, right? Well, just before we turn the corner, the roller coaster stops and it doesn't move again. And so we're sitting here getting poured on, and I'm trapped inside of a roller coaster as a shoulder harness over me. I have literally had panic attacks just thinking about this experience happening to me in my life. And so being pressed into the situation where I was like, oh no, this is really happening. Like having that wash over my psyche was like, okay, the last thing I can do in this moment is panic. And so I have been working and working and working on my internal process through meditation, through mantra. And I basically was like, okay, pull out all the tools because we cannot panic right now. And so the tool that popped up for me was this mantra based off of Ardhanarishvara. If you're not familiar with Ardhanarishvara, it's basically the Shiva and Shakti energy kind of merging into one androgynous being. It's a very interesting character. Nikki's got it right behind her over there, over her shoulder. You can see our
Where's
little
my foot?
Ardhanarishvara statue. It's a big part of our process. And if you guys do Spotify, at the end of the year, you get a little notification that tells you like how you spent your year listening to music. The Ardhanarishvara mantra song that Nikki and I listened to was by far the one that I had listened to the most.
Like you said, spiritual nerd. Yep.
Right. Yeah. So coincidentally, that was my 2022 safety mechanism. Like I held on to Ardhanarishvara as best as I could. And so as soon as we got trapped, and I knew if I started to panic that it was going to be a very, very challenging experience. So I started to sing the song. Om Namo Ardhanarishvara, right? And as I'm going through that, I'm just singing, I'm moving my hands, and the roller coaster there is the Incredicoaster, and it's playing the Incredibles theme song, and I'm like making the mantra go with the theme song, and I'm moving my hands, and I'm jamming out and having fun, and I'm like, all the while I am like on the razor's edge of just losing my mind, but I'm like, I'm just gonna let myself.
And I'm sitting here next to him, knowing this is happening. Like, yeah. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah. Nikki and I have been together for 18 years. She knows my triggers, and she knows that this is like on the top. This is like right next to being buried alive. And so anyways, that ended up being a huge ceremony for me. But to tie it all back into what the ladies were talking about, it's all about perception, because I had an experience several years before. It probably was 2008. And
I think it was.
It might have been, right? I got trapped on a roller coaster at not California Adventure, at Six Flags. And Six Flags in California. But the roller coaster was just a lap bar. And so like I was pushing against the lap bar, and I was literally like panicking. I'm not going to be able to get out of there. Well, this was way worse because I had the shoulder straps on me, and I'm like here, right? So you would think that I was going to have a much worse experience. And I totally would have thought that as well. But falling back on the work, doing my mantra, staying in the moment, and trusting the new version of me that I've cultivated is what got me through that experience. And coming off the roller coaster was such a surreal experience, because it was like, oh my God, it's almost like you passed some magical test that you didn't even know you were having until it was there. And it was like such a culmination of years of work to get to the point where I could literally face my greatest fear. And that is the essence of the root chakra. Feeling safe, even in a situation where you've lost control and you don't think you're safe. It's the perception that matters. It's believing you're safe, knowing you're safe, and relaxing into the moment. That's the medicine.
Beautiful. It's so funny.
All right, Minnie, your turn to cry.
I have tissues near me, so I can't cry. Let me wiping on my shirt. It's interesting though that you're saying that. I realized yesterday that I actually went into mantra as well. When I, takeoff is the hardest for me for whatever reason. And Hanuman has been so big in my life for the last, it just keeps showing up in my life. Hanuman is a Hindu god, the monkey god. And Hanuman, I went into my Hanuman mantra yesterday, and I was like, okay, well, you picked up a mountain and brought the mountain, so okay, carry my plane, please. Thank you. But that's where I went, was mantra, and I think that something to attend to later, but how much mantra and sound and all that vibration is so effective within ourselves, and recognizing that in our bodies. But speaking of uh, the audience, we all know Azalea. Azalea shared some of her fears, and I'm going to share what Azalea said. So, and I think we can all, Nikki, Ryan, we all have our own businesses, so we can definitely resonate with this. Fear of losing it all. I don't know if I can show it because it's big. Let me try. Oh, there, I can. All right, so fear of losing it all: business, savings, loved ones, health. Fear of following intuition as a fantasy. Fear of not bringing in enough business to provide for my employees to earn a living. Fear of being consumed by work and never finding time for myself ever again. And ultimately, this one's so huge, I think, in the spiritual world, fear in creating from all of this place of fear.
Right.
Hello. Yes, I think all of that we have all been facing in the last few years, and this is hugely up, because again, the idea of lack is almost literally like the idea of lack and the vibration of lack is being broadcast to us everywhere, even in a lot of spiritual communities, like getting into be prepared, we're not going to have food, and again,
or toilet paper. Let's all hoard toilet paper.
And there's
that's also root chakra.
Right. Exactly. So, we really are being there's not a lot of places where you can turn and have safe news, right? So we're all, I think, digging into these energies that Azalea shared so vulnerably. Thank you,
Azalea. And I love Azalea. I miss you, Azalea, so much, in such a deep way. She summed it up perfectly. I mean, I'm like, are we the same person? What is
fear of this, fear of that, and then fear of fear?
Yeah.
Well, and I want to say this too, because I think I've had a couple temper tantrums this year about this, of you guys are asking me to create something that is in a placement of love and of transformation and helping people. But how am I going to do that if I'm freaking terrified and I feel like everything's going to fall apart and I feel really unstable? And it's like, you keep thinking all these external things are your stability, right? It's like you are, the whole process of you learning this lesson is going to be infused in the work that you do, because if you transform this, then you can help people transform it, because you went through it. Yep. There's no better teacher than someone who's walked that path, and they're like, you need to trust yourself in everything that's coming up for you and not be ashamed. Because I think a lot of times we're so afraid to be authentic that we're struggling, and that we don't have it figured out, and that a teacher needs to have it all figured out to be a good teacher. But that's not necessarily true. We're all human. Like Ryan said, we are not gurus here. None of us. We're not this, we are, beyond
it all, have transcended all of Earth's rules and everything. No, we are living it right here with you. And I think there's potency in that, because there's a lot of people who will, or a lot of, gurus who will be like, oh, if that's happening in your life, you haven't done the work. No, that's you doing the work when these things are happening in your life. We are here for lessons. We're not here to be perfect. And I don't believe anybody who's out there saying that they have a perfect life and that they've got it all figured out. That's my cue personally to run, because that's not Earth's process. It's okay. So it's letting ourselves be okay in the fall apart. And Paige McCarson, you'll remember, also shared. Oh, I can share these. I love this.
I do love this.
Yeah, this little bubble thing is really cool. It's like pop-up video.
program. Perfect conversation for me to be listening to. There's upheaval around me that's quaking into my reality and making my stability feel rocky, even though I know in my knower all is well. And then what Azalea said. So we're all like feeling this because this is where we're meant to be. You feeling this means, okay, hey, you are dancing with the current energies. You're not resisting it. You don't have like blinders on to what's going on. You're dancing in the energies, and your willingness to share this, your willingness to feel it, means that you are not in complete resistance. There may be resistance. We all have resistance, but you're at least not in complete resistance. And that's something to be proud of, because being human and dealing and dancing with these things is definitely not easy. So you're already starting that root process.
Yeah. And I have to speak up for the spiritual nerds out there. She used the word quaking and feeling rocky. These are very good root chakra words. So, but all joking aside, there actually is energy in your vocabulary. So Mimi, you talked a little bit about vibrational energy and mantra. Well, what is mantra? It's just word energy, right? You're vocalizing. Even if you're internalizing your mantra, you're taking energy and words and you're infusing them together. So the words we use are crucial, and those words can kind of manipulate or change or kind of shape our reality. And so this goes back to the Don Miguel Ruiz
and our perception.
Being impeccable with your words is so crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that, because I'm starting to kind of understand that for myself and kind of having to reframe that and realizing your words, you're externalizing your perception. Yep. And you're kind of driving that perception in. And when you're going through a certain change and a certain shift, it's like, what's that story? What do I keep projecting out? Or what is that filter that I keep projecting out on my experience? Mm-hmm. And I literally had to stop myself of like, I don't like, how are we doing this if we don't have enough? And stop. Like, you have enough. Where are we coming from? And so if you just listen to yourself a little bit, like just listen to the words that are coming out of your mouth, you might start going, is that what I want to continue to weave, right? To your experience. Maybe, did you have something to say?
Probably. I had many things to say, but it's all moved through. I was actually just pulling some cards about our experience. And when you said, like, what are you experiencing? Such a root card, the experience. I always call this card the experiencing card. This is a card of like, hey, it's not going to be easy, but just like this tree, you're going to grow. Right. And that's definitely been, our last several years. And even through these moments, I pulled the thunderbolt, and all of us are having to face what are thunderbolts. Right. Whether it's the thunderbolts that have happened or it's the thunderbolts that we fear happening, part of the experiencing is that willingness. And I love this card. I call this card I get by with a little help from my friends. And here's the three of us right here helping you get by these thunderbolt energies. It's also hard times require furious dancing, which also helps, right? That's what I call this card. Those are my two things for this card. And so that's what we're here to do, is help provide you with the tools, the understanding, so that we can move through these energies. And I just think I love these illustrations.
I also want to talk about something that I love how you said the thunderbolts that we perceive. I've been dealing with thunderbolts that I think might happen, and just spin myself out with that. So thank you for bringing that in, because I'm like, yep, that means me. But I also want to talk about something around the root and how to support yourself through this fear and these changes. Because one of the things that when you start having fear and stress, it starts to affect your physical body. And part of the root chakra is a lot about taking care of your physical body. And Ryan knows a lot about this, but it's around our adrenals, and it's around our cortisol levels, and stress can bring up all of this stuff. It can bring us into exhaustion and fatigue. Yep. And when we're going through our fears, I think one of the best things that you can do for yourself is ask what your physical body needs.
Yep. 100%. Yeah. the root chakra is directly connected to the physical body, specifically the muscle and the bone. So the muscle and bone are very much connected to the root chakra, and coincidentally, the adrenals. So your adrenals are the glands. They live just above your kidneys, and basically that's your fight or flight gland. So if you need to suddenly do something to run away from an animal, your adrenals kick in and they pump out a bunch of adrenaline. And that gives you the ability to fight or flight, right? So it shuts down systems that are unnecessary, systems like digestion and reproduction and sleep, and it gets you in the mode to move. And it makes everything like it laser focuses everything. You get like tunnel vision, right? Well, there's a couple of bad things that happen when that system gets kicked on, is that you can't digest, you can't rest, you can't reproduce, and
No sex drive.
Right, the sex drive gone.
Ask.
Yep. And then it produces something called cortisol, and cortisol is kind of like trying to, once all of this adrenaline is going, cortisol is like trying to pump the brakes on that system, right? So it's kind of similar to when you eat a lot of sugar, your body shoots a bunch of insulin to kind of regulate that body sugar. And so when that happens, there's like this, your body's trying to regulate itself. But the problem is, in the wild or in the past, what humans would do is after they would have one of these experiences, they would rest. They would find a safe place and they would rest. Safe place, right? They would find shelter. They would get away from the animal. They whatever was trying to kill them is no longer there. Then they rest, right? The problem is that as a society, we've been conditioned to be constantly working with this low level stress, sometimes high level stress. But basically we're constantly working these adrenals, trying to get more out of them. And it could be just as simple as like, I have to do this thing today. I have to go do this thing for work, or I have to get my children to their 8 different soccer practices, whatever that may be. And in order to do that, we're like, the cortisol levels are high because our adrenals are high. So the cortisol levels come up and we start to feel fatigued, right? We run out of energy. So what do? We grab caffeine. And we pump caffeine into the system so we can try to pump up our energy levels to do the things that we have to do. And then we're constantly just revving the system up, even though the system is just desperately trying to calm itself back down. And when we lose balance with that, the body suffers. The muscles start to atrophy, right? The bones start to become brittle because we start to suck calcium out of the bones. We start to suck nutrients out of the system, because these nutrients are being utilized to keep us going, to give us the energy that we need to do the things we need to do. And so our whole system just starts to deteriorate altogether. The key is balance. It's not, okay, being really active is the answer, but it's also not being inactive and doing nothing is the answer. The key is to try to find your balance. Allow your body to go to the high energy when it needs it, but then give yourself the rest you need when it needs that. If you don't do that, it inevitably shows up in the form of illness. And that illness is also connected to the root chakra, which is directly connected to the immune system. And we can get into some more of the minutia about it later as we talk about the solar plexus, which we will in a couple of weeks. But suffice it to say, if you're revving up your system all the time, trying to get things done, something's got to give. And it usually shows up in the form of illness or injury. And so the best advice that we can give you is to stay balanced. If you feel like you're revved up all the time, rest. Don't drink caffeine. Don't try to pump yourself up full of sugar so that you can go and do the things you need to do. Listen to your body. Your body's trying to tell you, I need to rest. Listen to that.
And it might be trickier than you like. I know it's tricky. It is tricky because I know even there's so many weird programs that I have to get things done that are running in my head, the Virgo with the to-do list. And I have to say, like, there are days that Ryan and I get so much work done. And then the next day I'm completely shot. Like, I'm sitting in the bath watching Firefly Lane because I can't do anything with my life. And then I kind of still have that program, and you might have this, that goes, what am I doing? Oh my God, why am I not working? And making myself guilty or anxious about not working. And that can also kick up your adrenals. So, do your best to like keep an eye on that monkey mind, because it can spin you out when nothing's actually happening. And then the very next day, if I allow myself to rest, the next day I have this really great, beautiful, productive day again. And then the next day, and if you're not listening, you're going to get cranky. You're going to get, and me and Ryan were a little cranky this morning because I think we have been getting about 3 months of work done in 2 weeks. And we have to kind of honor that process that is going on with you. So if you have that conditioned behavior and you're up against that edge, do your best, do your best, do your best. But keep an eye on those things and go, okay, that's the program. That's the program I'm trying to defract. And we'll talk a little bit about how to help you do that as well. And know that when you go, so we've been talking about facing a lot of fears. And I want to talk about that just briefly, is when you face a lot of fears and you make a shift, it might come out physically as well. After Ryan had that experience, when he got home from California, he ended up getting sick for an entire week, kind of posted up, bedridden. And I kept saying, we also did like a workshop right after going to Disney, and we ended up having to bring me and one of the other women that were there. We brought in a really big, huge amount of light, portal of light. And Ryan was like in the middle of it with his legs like pinned up. And he's like, I think this is how I died in a past life. And we had to pull all this light, and it was funny because our friend Effie, who was there with us, she was like, I saw this elevator come down. I was like, that's his fear. He has a fear of either being stuck in an elevator or crushed by an elevator. So as we brought on all that light into his fears, he actually went down for a week. And I kept hearing my inner guidance system going, that's his body literally cellularly and subcellularly processing the fear and clearing it out of the system, so it's not unconsciously and subconsciously taking over him on a day-to-day level. And I was like, okay, so if you guys are getting sick or you guys are getting injured, because I have a knot in my shoulder, I want you to also learn how to listen to your body in that way. A lot of us fear being sick. I actually really like setting intention when I get sick. So as soon as I start feeling the sickness coming on, I go, how can I use this experience to like kind of be productive? But how do I like go, okay, this is what I'm going through. As I'm clearing this, or as I'm getting a cold or even COVID, I know that sounds crazy, because I think COVID is a karma clearer, to be honest with you. I've worked with so many people the last 2 years with COVID, and isn't that sweet? Anyway, but I think COVID is going in and processing the DNA on a very, very, very deep level. And if you learn how to, I know that sounds crazy, and I've worked with people who've had cancer, and this is a mantra I've given them, and it either triggers you or you work with it, but trust it, right? Trust COVID, trust cancer. What do you need to go through? What is stuck in the physical body? Use it as a teacher. Okay, I'm going through this, because you can resist it. And the more we resist it, and the more we fight something, the more that it fights back, right? But if you trust it as a learning opportunity, or like maybe even when we did ceremony, when I was training under ayahuasca, people purge, right? And instead of saying, oh, you're getting sick, you're getting well. You're getting the thing that is stuck in the body out. So I know that sounds crazy, but you have to meet things the way that they come at you, and even accept and honor that process, because it can help you if you come with that perspective and that mindset of going, I'm going to work with this. I'm going to, like Mimi said, I'm going to soften around this fear. My body softened, and it didn't go into panic. And that's where we need to go to really be able to get the information that's trying to come in of like, this is what we're pulling out of you, right? When you get sick. And so trust these things, because once you go through something, when a lot of light is poured in you and you're having to look at that fear, it can come out. Right now I have a knot in my left shoulder, and my fear around survival again, is coming out on how I receive on my left side.
Yeah.
Honor, listen to your body.
Yeah, and it's like the mantra that's popping in my head is, instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask yourself, why is this happening for me? Give yourself the opportunity to retrain your brain and retrain your psyche around experiences that seem negative, right? Because we automatically assume that health is positive and illness is negative. But if we look at things on a larger scale, on a grander scale, we can see the positive aspect of illness, because illness affords us an opportunity, A, to rest, because a lot of times we won't rest unless we're sick, right? And that's just the truth, because we're so worried about getting shit done that we're not going to stop unless something stops us. So that's one of the things. And the other thing is like paying attention to how that illness is showing up for you. What is that? Like for me, I'm still coughing. It's been 3 weeks since we've gotten back from California, and I still have stuff in my throat. So what do? I go, okay, well, what's in my throat? Oh, my throat chakra. So what's going on in communication? Am I getting a communication upgrade? Am I not communicating well? Am I not listening? Am I not speaking my truth? So diving in, not that I necessarily have an answer for this, and you might not get an answer right away, but the importance is to change your perception, to look at the illness or the situation from a place of growth and learning from that situation, learning from that illness, learning from whatever it is you're in.
From the fear.
Yeah. Stop reacting and start to listen and go, okay, what are you trying to tell me? And I think that if we can change our perception, like we talked about earlier, about Mimi on the plane, about Nikki with money, and about me stuck on a roller coaster, if we're able to change our perception, whether it's through mantra or prayer or meditation or singing, whatever that may be, the whole purpose of those tools is to point you into the moment. Get out of this projection into the future or this worry about the past. That's not serving you. What is serving you is staying in the moment. And these illnesses, these issues, they come up to put you into a state of fear, to point you towards the moment. So whenever you find yourself in a state of fear, whether it's I can't get something done, or I'm sick, my body's not working correctly, my relationships aren't working correctly, whatever it is, what's it pointing you towards? Look at it like an arrow and follow that arrow to the awareness that's going to help you get through it. It might not help you go through quicker, but it will help you to integrate the lesson instead of seeing it as a punishment.
Perfect. I love that. And I one of the things that you said in there that I think just also is so important is like, in shifting that perception, just being able to like ask why, and making yourself available to listen, and that key that you don't have to know. I think those are such important points in this, because so often, like, you can go to the internet and be like, "Nah, nah, nah, nah. Oh, here's the answer," right? But to be able to sit in it, I think, is also even just facing that fear instead of that automatic, like, change it right now, kind of energy. We are in such an energy of change, but change, like real change, it takes time, and it needs the time. And so I think that was so important to just speak a little bit more into, because that was potent. Thank you.
Yeah, the internet, unfortunately, is a treasure trove of confirmation bias. If you want to find something, you will find it. All you have to do is word it in such a way, and suddenly you'll have what you want. Instead of, how do I feel better when my throat hurts? You look up, what's wrong with my throat? And suddenly you have throat cancer. And it's not to say that you shouldn't, be aware of these things and have regular screenings so that you can find out if that's the case. But the thing is that your mind is so sharp on finding problems and then trying to find solutions for the problems that you have to pull yourself back from this problem solving mindset and go, okay, what's really happening right now? And if you can do that, then you won't run down that spiral of confirmation bias. If you're not familiar with what confirmation bias means, it basically means that if you're thinking it, you're going to find something to confirm your
To
thought.
validate that.
Yeah. So if you're having negative thoughts about something like, oh my gosh, I can't get rid of this cold, there must be something wrong with me, and you look it up, yeah, you're going to find something on the internet that will tell you that there's something wrong with you. But if you go towards it with a different mindset, this idea that, okay, I'm trying to learn a lesson, and where is this lesson taking me? You can go down a very different rabbit hole, and you can learn some really interesting things about yourself and about the nature of life in general. But that comes with the process of just staying in the moment and not allowing yourself to fall down that spiral, that vortex of worry, doubt, and fear.
Exactly. I love that. Awesome. Do you want to pull a few cards, Nikki, before we wrap this up?
Yeah, let's see. What are we feeling today? What do I want? We got the...
Yeah, now you got to decide which deck you want to use. I know
What you
guys
is
can't
the
see in the frame is that Nikki is literally surrounded by cards. The entire floor is not carpeted, it's card-peted. There's cards all over the floor.
Don't be calling me out.
Okay.
It's true.
Everybody, but Debbie asked for a card, and I actually pulled a few for her.
Cool.
And it's just in general. So I'm just going to show you these cards and just speak a little bit to it. So the first card I pulled for you, Debbie, is the Rebirth card. It's the 10 of Swords. So it's definitely speaking of the mind, and it came out with the politics. And so where's your mind not allowing yourself to be authentic into you? You've said so many wonderful, beautiful things. Like, I cannot human today. I saw all of those things. But anyway, where are you still pretending? Whether it's in your mind, in your reality, and where you're pretending, that's the energy to address and rebirth and nurture. So just a few little cards for you, because we appreciate your support. Thank you. I recognize you from the other night as well for all your comments and support. Thank you.
I love you bringing up the nurture card, Mimi, because I know you talked about Scorpio being connected to the root chakra, which I fully believe, especially because Scorpio has this kind of like underground feel, like willing to go into these dark crevices of the psyche and not being scared to do that. And I think on the opposite end of the astrological coin is Taurus. And Taurus is also a very root chakra oriented sign because of the nurturing aspect and because of the connection to the planet Earth itself. Mm-hmm. And so I find it really interesting that these two astrological signs that are basically on the opposite ends of the astrological chart both harness the energy of the root chakra.
I agree. Well, astrologically, signs that are in opposition are a lot of times more similar than they are different. Mm-hmm. And as you harness each one, speaking of balance, like you spoke of earlier, like the balance for Scorpio is the Taurus, right? The balance for Taurus is the Scorpio. Oh. And so it's beautiful how they work together. So they absolutely both embrace that root chakra essence and can provide solutions. Like one of the keywords for Scorpio that just pops into my head is boundaries. Like Taurus energy sometimes, especially if it's very fruitful, can go like, whoa, I'm going to spend all the money, into huge abundance. But having those boundaries is also so perfect in balancing. And so I don't think that that's something that's talked about too much astrologically, is how balancing those energies can be. And one of the things, speaking of balance, that's going to be a theme coming in 2023, later in late summer 2023, as the South Node moves into Libra. The North Node moves into Aries. South Node in Libra, we're going to have to be checking our balance often because chances are we're going to find ourselves swinging around a little wildly. So
that's good to know.
So I think the cards that came out, so I'm using a really cool deck that a friend gave me that I have a lot of synchronicity with. They're called the Mystical Art Medicine. It's a little oracle deck here, and they're very shamanic in nature, but I find them to be kind of right on with what we have talked about. So the first two cards that popped out were activation and initiation. So I think a lot of these fears that we're coming up against, and I had the fear card come up as well, um, are an initiation. It's an activation and initiation into our work, and that actually is going to bring us into the work that Ryan and I are doing here in a second. But from the initiation and the activation energy, I got the strength card. What we're learning here is strength. And I think this is very root chakra looking. It even looks like kind of Ryan's shirt a little bit, but it has that, like, it looks like we're in like a cavern in a tree here. And there's so many earth. There's an owl in this and a deer, a giraffe. So a lot of animal energetics of like this really earthbound, really grounded strength. And I think when we move through those fears, it really galvanizes or alchemizes our what we can handle, our confidence in ourselves of like, if I got through that, this isn't going to be a thing. So allow yourself to get strong in the challenges.
Yes.
And the last card that I have, the last two cards, three here, is transformation. There's a lot around really having that. It's very alchemical gold looking. It's having this transformation. There's gifts in that, the gift. There's a gift in your transformation. And what are you going to create? And there's a butterfly here. You're creating yourself. I think there's a new creation birthing in your life. There's a new self birthing in your life. So you have to just go through this initiation, this activation that you're going through right now through the fear, and allowing fear to be an initiation, even though it's scary. It is giving you strength. Believe it or not, you are building some muscles that maybe were atrophied, and that's why you have to go through this, so you can have the transformation and gifts and really like have that creation that you want to produce. Because I think a lot of us before 2020 had a lot of ideas and dreams and like, oh, if I had this, I would want to, I would want to create this in our life. Well, 2020 comes around and goes, I'm going to take some things out. Are you ready to put your money where your mouth is?
Right.
Are you ready to like come out of the closet, be authentic, and do the things?
Yep.
And then I think we should talk about what we did, right?
Yeah. I think this is a really good lead in, because the one aspect that we haven't really talked about with the root chakra is its aspect of being a foundation and being basically the platform that you can build everything off of. And the more stable and grounded the root chakra is. They use the word root because basically, if you think of things in terms of a tree, just like Nikki's card, the deeper the roots go, the taller the tree can grow, because it needs that stability. Because when the weather starts to get a little wacky, the first thing that's going to happen is that tree is going to start to move. And if it doesn't have roots dug deep into the soil, it might just pull itself right out and break apart. The other aspect of a foundation is it's the beginning. It's the beginning of a longer cycle or a longer process. The first thing that a plant does when it becomes part of the soil is it starts digging down first. If you plant a seed in the soil, you'll notice that you don't see anything for a long time. The reason for that is not because the plant's not growing, it's because the plant is growing down. It is creating a foundation for its own support so that it can eventually have the energy to push up and grow towards the sun and become that plant. But every moment that plant is growing taller, it's also digging deeper. And so the process of beginning always starts with digging a nice deep foundation so that you can build bigger. And going into what Nikki and I are offering, which is the Journey of Ascension process, the first week of that process is what we call the prep week. You're preparing things. You could call that tilling the soil, if you will. And then the second week is the root chakra week. And that's where you actually plant the seed and you let that sucker start to dig its roots down, because you know that there is a continuation of that process. It's going to come from that initial burying itself deep into the earth.
And within that work, what Ryan and I do, our program consists of, it's called the Journey of Ascension, but we're going all the way down, like Ryan said, to the root, all the way down, all the way up to the crown. And how we do it is Ryan gives you a teaching and a meditation with sound bowls. So you can change that vibration in the morning. And then you go to sleep with my meditation. And that is going to really uproot some of your unconscious programming and change what's going on in the subconscious. Because a lot of things that we're doing is these old habits, old conditioning, old lineage stuff that we don't even realize is like pretty much 80% of what's happening. And our conscious mind is only kind of reacting most of the time. So our program helps on a very deep and subconscious and unconscious level of being able, like Mimi said, when she had the tornado come, wow, wow, that's not triggering me. And that's the goal. The
Right.
goal is you having an echo come into your life, an experience that is going to bring that fear up. And what Ryan said, when he got trapped in the thing, I totally handled that differently. That's the goal.
Yes.
The goal is my programs are working for me. Right. And I get to kind of unravel those things. And then you in the program get to choose what you want to put in its place.
Yeah.
And that's like very much empowering change. And Mimi did this with us last time. And I really want to invite you, Mimi, when we do Zoom calls on Saturday with the program, to come in and help and put some things, if you want to, when you want to, putting the astrology in it, because you nailed me. And Mimi really knows her stuff when it comes to how the energetics. And it's funny how when we did the program last time, when we did it with her, it was coinciding with all these astrological, we didn't even mean to do that, but it was coinciding with a lot of astrological support.
Yep.
And we are having, and Mimi said, we have 6 more months for the Scorpio fear stuff, transformation. And so, right, July?
8 more months, I think, from right now.
I'm
right?
trying to make it shorter.
Yeah.
Well, July is at least 7 months from we have about 8 months left of this Scorpio South Node energy. But just to dig into the astro, like when their program is starting, which I believe it's January 22nd, is the beginning. Yep. That is literally the day that we have Uranus, the planet of liberation, going direct after its, 5-6 month retrograde. And so it's such a, like, I don't want to say boomerang, but like shooting an arrow moment forward. It's also directly after we have Mercury going direct. It's right after we have Mars. This Mars retrograde that we've been in has been helping us internalize shifts. And so we're going to be right around that time, right through the middle of January, be ready to be moving forward into some more really potent astrological shifts coming down the line in March when the program ends, right? It ends in March, yes?
Yep.
Yeah. So
just before the spring equinox.
Right. Okay. Yeah. It's right around some really other big astrological shifts. And that's the thing. Change, it really is like, for the external change to happen, it really is an internal game. And so this offers you process to help support the changes that you are wanting to make and the changes that you're also needing to make. Because like the astrology, like it'll do so much, but you can resist, and then it's going to push you. So that's why I say the changes that you actually do need to make as well to continue on in our personal evolution.
Yeah. One of the biggest lessons the root chakra teaches you is the lesson of commitment. You basically are exactly what you do on a daily basis. So look at your daily routines, look at your daily rituals, look at the things that you do every single day, and that defines who you are. One of the beautiful things about our program is it's 9 weeks of showing up for yourself. You've now developed a routine that involves starting the day by showing up for yourself and ending the day by showing up for yourself. There is nothing better than you can do for yourself than to show up and be present with your own process. And the results speak for themselves. I really, really sincerely hope we get some folks involved, because Nikki and I have seen some magical transformations happen with this program. Just recently, Nikki can speak to this better than me, but her Aunt Margie went through a radical transformation, and she was in the same group that
Still
Mimi.
is. Yeah.
And the feedback
Phenomenal.
getting from Margie is just mind-boggling.
I love that. I want to speak to what you just said, commitment. My horoscope today, for today's daily horoscope that I did, spoke of commitment, because we have Venus, planet of love, values, worth, shifting into Capricorn. Still not yet today, it's shifting later. But that felt like the theme of Venus into Capricorn, making a commitment to yourself, to your physical self, your worth, to your values. So often we can look outside for commitment. And so that's what I was feeling in the astro. We did not prepare this. This is not prepared. Like, let's talk about commitment. Like, that was just, I was like, oh, I love how this just weaves, right? So we're kicking into this energy with Venus moving into, we had Mercury move into Capricorn, making decisions that support our structure, that support our purpose. And now here we have Venus moving in, and, you know, the sun will come along and in like week and a half, it's that soon, oh my gosh, the sun will come along and join. And so we're moving into a beautiful season for commitment, and also Capricorn reminding you again where Pluto's been, structure, commitment and structure. And so it's such perfect timing to align with that commitment energy.
That's awesome. And Mimi, you said that you do something in the new year as well with the, what do you call it, the year ahead?
Yeah, I do a year ahead reading. So here's my list of the transits for the year ahead that I find potent. And so basically what I do is I just go through what's happening this year in your chart. Like, where are you feeling all of these major shifts, like the eclipses and the retrogrades and the transitions, and what are your planets doing? And a lot of my longtime clients find it just really helpful. A lot of them are like, I go back every month and like, okay, this is what's coming in this month. I look at the astro and I pull cards for the month ahead. And so my year ahead readings are available right now and can also be recorded, which is always nice for going back. Although I always recommend taking notes, because that to me is the best. But
you can sign up for one of those, Mimi, because after 2022, I need a little bit of foresight for 2023, because 2022 was rough.
You got hit. You got hit. You both got, we all actually, I was saying the astrology was kind of assaulting me. It was happening for me. But we all got hit pretty hard this last year, astro-wise. So
it'd be nice to have a little heads up next year.
Yeah, we got knocked around. Well, you had all the Uranus Taurus stuff too, babe, and then we had the all the eclipses on something on us completely. I had something on my Scorpio every single time. You had something in Taurus and every single time. So we were opening and closing things on certain planets, and that was rocky. So yeah, it's really good to know those things, because Mimi actually got a hold of me. I was like, how are you doing? You okay?
That's to, again, working with the energies instead of resisting them. And when you know, you're like, okay, I know I have to work with this energy, instead of being like, where is this coming from? What are you doing? You know, like, it really helps, I feel, to, again, dance with it. I think our work is to learn to dance with the universe instead of trying to wall against the universe.
That's the teaching of the Rasa Leela, right? Dance with life.
And I want also to remind everybody that, like, speak about consistency and commitment. Mimi is like the most committed, consistent human being on the dang planet. So she's been doing daily astrology videos for like a decade, y'all. Like, let's just like honor that, because God, like, oh my God, I love you, Mimi. I did it for 7 and I got burnt out. And Mimi has this beautiful free offering every day. You can go to the Gaia Blooming page. You can go to her YouTube page. Support her. Support people that are showing up for you and doing the work just by sharing. If you can't afford it and it's not monetarily sound for you right now, share it, because getting us light workers to be able to be supported in what we love to do helps everybody. We want to shift out of obligation and living to like survive, but to living to thrive. And
Mhm.
so if we put our money where our heart is, where we put the people who are in their hearts showing up every day trying to help and support this crazy transformation that planet earth is going through, we can shift the way that we make money too. And we can do it based off of love instead of greed, because God knows we need to heal that monkey. And so we got to be conscious of like, okay, how can I support? If I can't support with my resources of money, I can, hey, I heard what she said, or show up or share or
Right.
comment. It's very helpful. And I want you guys to know we've been working, Ryan and I have been working on this thing called the activations. And we have these 7 activations that we have. And it's going to be a smaller price program to really help you and support you in that way. But if you do jump on board, for the bigger program that we have starting on January 22nd to March, you get those activations for free. And we're going to have them out by Christmas Day.
Oh,
So,
speaking of Christmas Day, aren't we also offering a discount code for anybody in the? There you go.
yep. So right now we have the program at 888, but because we want to make this accessible for as many people as possible, we have a discount code for Gaia Blooming, and it will be on there. We'll put everything. It's GB 23 is the discount code, and it's only going to be for $4.99. So we're like cutting like a really big chunk off of it because we just want to give support and allow, it's a lot of, we have a lot of meditations, and you get Zoom calls and you get the support. One of the things that we are not people that just want to sell a bunch of programs and don't care if you finish. Ryan and I have put in a year's worth of work of like, how do we get them to the end? How do we get them to the end? Because we know that finishing and having that support and that accountability is so important.
Yeah.
To go through it together. We do the program with you, so we know what you're going through.
It's easy to start a program, but the real results come from finishing a program. And we've had what, 80%? That is 80%?
Maybe even more than that. Like the people who usually start and get to the heart chakra week usually are all the way through.
Yeah, we gotta get to that creative knot, right?
A lot of people, this last time, only 2 people didn't finish, but they didn't start. So, everybody finished who started the program this time around.
Yeah. So we take a lot of pride in knowing that we're going to be there every step of the way. We call ourselves Life Sherpas for a reason, because we're climbing the mountain with you. We do the program with you. We check in every week. We have a Zoom call every week where everybody gets to jump on and do Q&A and see what everybody's going through, and just make sure we're on the same page. We talk about this program like climbing a mountain, because that's basically what it feels like. And those Zoom calls that we do every week are like base camp. It's an opportunity for everybody to check in and adjust to the altitude before we start climbing the next week. And Mimi, you could probably talk a little bit about how those Zoom calls affected your process.
I think connecting with the group was really helpful, but I want to dig into one other thing beforehand. Some people can be like, well, I've been doing this work for a really long time. Like, I don't know if I really need it. I know my chakras. I know what's going on. I've been, like I said, working with fear for so many years. This program is so supportive. It does not matter if you've been doing a week's worth of work, a month's worth of work, years worth of work. You will absolutely 100% get benefit from connecting into this program. And then Nikki and Ryan had a saying, the group is the group is the guru. The group is the group. But it's so true, because I think one of our things, I pulled it earlier, but I never showed it. I had the isolation card. So often we can, here it is, near the top. So often we can feel so alone in our process, in what's happening to us, for us. And when you are connecting into the group, you recognize and realize like, oh, hey, I'm not alone in feeling this. I'm not alone in doing this. there's other people going through, there's other people feeling what I'm feeling. And so those Zoom call, the whole program was so, I mean, there is more than I could even do that's available in it. There's so many layers where you can work on it. But the group processes I looked forward to every week because I knew that it would just help me exponentially. So yeah, I highly recommend.
It's amazing. And it's amazing how much transformation we've had from it. And that's why we know it works, is because it transformed us. And then it's so crazy every time we do it, the same days that we did it the last, like, it's consistent. It's like we're like hitting certain things at certain moments. And it's a really cool process. And it really does transform you from that unconscious and subconscious level. It's really cool what we were able to tap into. We didn't even know what we were doing when we did it. We just set intention, and it came out naturally. And I think it's been such a growth of an organic process. So if you're ready to like really step in to your inner work and have those changes, even if you're like your New Year's resolution is to lose weight, I say do something like this, because what it does is it reprograms the mind to help you commit to doing those things, right? And so this is something that we don't want you to quit on.
Right.
We really did I got a safety net for a safety net for a safety net for a safety net. We're going to catch you and you're not quitting. Come on, get back in there, because we really want you to feel like yourself again and get rid of those garbage that like you're programmed to think you were.
Yeah, and speaking to the weight loss thing real quick, Nick, because being a personal trainer, this happens to be one of my areas of expertise. Mm-hmm. Every one of my clients that was a weight loss client ended up being more of a mental, emotional process than physical. The physical X's and O's of fitness and health and nutrition and getting yourself to lose weight are pretty simple. It's sticking to them that's the hard part. It's making them part of your normal routine, making them who you are, developing yourself around these routines and these basic principles. That's the key. And so doing the internal work is where the rubber meets the road, because you could quite literally take any fitness program and do it in conjunction with our program, and you will have sustainable results instead of short-term results, because you will have done the inner work that will ultimately help you to make lasting changes, not just short-term changes. And so many times when you focus just on the body, these changes are only skin deep. And the moment that you stop doing whatever that program is, you fall right back into old habits, old routines, and old ways of looking at yourself. Transforming yourself internally allows you to shed the skin of who you think you are so that you can become the person that you want to be.
Yeah, I love that. So I think we're going to wrap up in just a second, but did you want to say something, Nikki?
No.
Okay.
I was just going to say,
I wasn't sure. Was that?
Oh, yeah, I got to close the bubble.
I just wanted to, where part of this was, how can we lend you holiday support? So I thought each one of us could maybe bring a root-centered tip for holiday support at this time.
Well, I'll start with family. Repairing relationships with family is crucial during the holidays. I think that's the reason why we have holidays, is because it forces us to deal with our families. And it's so easy for us to avoid family throughout the year. And so if you have issues around family, whether it's your, close-knit nuclear family or it's extended family, use the holidays as a springboard to work on that. And it doesn't mean you're going to come up with a solution, but just bringing awareness and attention and love to any relationship with your family is the first step in any healing process. So, bring it back to the family.
I
can go if you need a moment.
What?
I said I can say something if you need a moment.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I was going to bring forth the presents. Not presents as in gifts, but the presents as in, here I am. And for any family stuff, allowing yourself to be present instead of kicking into the old reactions can be really potent. But I think part of that is also presence with yourself. So spending time like how we began, I would say go back to the beginning of this broadcast, how Ryan moved us through that meditation and breathe that red energy, that light through our bodies. I think presence like that can help us bring presence and not be in that reactive place. So making sure that you take, sometimes it can be like, I have to go do this thing and this thing and this thing, and I have to do that and that, and not getting so caught up in all the have tos, and bringing yourself into the being, I think is really potent at holiday time and any time really. But yeah.
And I kind of want to actually piggyback off of being present. And I want to kind of go back to that, the energies of feeling safe and feeling fearful. Because I think with family stuff too can bring up a lot of anxiety. And holidays can bring up a lot of anxiety for a lot of different reasons. And that could be family or not having enough money in abundance to be able to give what you think that you should be giving to other people, and all of those things can rise to the surface. When your fears arise and those worries wake you up at 3 a.m, allow yourself to either sit up straight or lay with your, not on your side, but lay like right on your back so your spine is straight, and breathe and be present. Get curious on your fears instead of allowing them to take you over. You can work with anxiety, and it just takes practice and routine and consistency. But if you remind yourself every time you go into that fear, and it's that old adage, and it's kind of cliche, but it's the false evidence appearing real. Fantastic. And some of those fears are real. Like your bank account might be really low, but in 3 o'clock in the morning, you're not going to solve world hunger. Like it's better for your body to rest. And so if we can be present and go, okay, if I just get up for a half an hour, get my spine straight, and stay present with the energy instead of the actual mental version of the fear, what's it doing to the body? See if you can breathe, and taking the breath, getting in the moment, getting really inside the body. Don't let it pop you in your head. Because when we go into the mental conditioning of the thoughts, you're not in your body, you're in your mind. So how can we use our breath to pull ourselves back into that moment, setting the intention to rest, to calm, to be at peace, to be more stable, and see that maybe instead of being up for 3 hours, you can get that to 30 minutes and fall right back asleep. It's training yourself how to be more present with what is, having a different relationship to that, and making that your new routine.
Yeah.
One more little tip. So you see all of us wearing red right here. See, red for the root chakra. You can always support yourself vibrationally with color as well. Color and sound and mantra, like we spoke of earlier. I wanted to share, this is my friend's company, Live Gratitude. And these shirts, which are beach and ethically made in the United States, actually have mantras written into them. And so the mantra for this red root shirt is, I am grounded, safe, and divinely protected at all times. Or you can have a shirt like Ryan's that has.
This is, so Nikki talked about our activations. This shirt comes from an artist named Axon Genesis. We stumbled upon him just because I was looking for some cool shirts, and I loved his shirts. But he's also an animator, and he does music, and he created these wonderful chakra activations that we have paired our guided meditations and singing bowls with his activations, and that's what's going to become our chakra activations, which we are completing this week, and they'll be out for the holidays, which is very exciting. So I'm gonna pull everybody.
Well, I was gonna say, I want to say this before I love that both of you are wearing some sort of like really good human that is doing work into the world, and that like, this is amazing. Look at all this collaboration going on.
Yes.
Like, this is so cool, and really supporting this beautiful intentional work. So I love that you're doing this. And I actually had a friend who bought me this, but it's not, so I'm not fully in the club. But I think that's really awesome that like you didn't even mean to do that. And then here it is. You guys are like totally in that. So yay for all people supporting each other and really doing intentional work. I'm actually really grateful. That's super duper cool.
Me too. So I'm going to take everybody out. I created this wonderful bubble that we could do this work within. So we're going to condense that bubble back down to the root chakra. Before we do that, I have one small quote from Nikki, one of Nikki and I's favorite gurus by the name of Ugwe. And that is
that's Kung Fu Panda, if you don't know.
I don't give away the secret. The past is history. The future is a mystery. And so we stay in the moment, and it is a gift because that's why we call it the present. So everybody go ahead and get in the moment. Sit up nice and tall. Make sure your spine is straight. Close your eyes. Start to connect to your breath. Feel that beautiful bubble of red, glowing, safe energy surrounding your body. And as we exhale, we're going to let the energy out of this bubble and see it shrink down to the size of a beach ball. To the size of a basketball. To the size of a softball. To the size of a golf ball. To that tiny orb of beautiful red light resting right at the base of our pelvic floor, keeping us grounded into this earth, feeling safe, abundant, connected to our family, our lineage, our DNA, and just generally feeling comfortable with life just as it is in this moment. You are safe to open your eyes. You're safe to move about the country. And you're safe to have a great day. Thank you guys so very much for joining us. I'm Ryan.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, guys.